top somehow. Oh yes, my Straight Talk family. I'm somewhat tardy, but accept my apologies, but I'm here. You're waiting, and I trust I didn't have you waiting too long, but I do apologize for a little bit of tardy start tonight, but I bid you a very pleasant night, wherever you are in St. Kitts and Nevis, and wherever you are all over the Caribbean region. As a matter of fact, wherever you are in the world, because we are on the World Wide Web, and we reach and touch you in every corner of the world, wherever you have access to that Wi-Fi or that internet. And I want to welcome all to Straight Talk, and for those in the diaspora, all over the world. Some of you are in Africa, there's some of you in Asia, there are some of you in Europe, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I will say good morning, and I will also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And my Straight Talk family, I welcome in particular our first timers, and in the process I thank all of you for sharing the link to Straight Talk, because we are coming up against all the odds, so we need your support to get it all across the world. We do have Kittitians and Nevisians in particular all over the world, in every corner of the world. So we want to get them abreast to what's happening in our beloved country. And to the first timers, I just wish to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process try to regain our enviable position of being number one or one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation on another occasion. As your host, I remain, no matter what you hear them say, I tell you this from the bottom of my heart, I remain just an untiring advocate of truthfulness, nothing else. On this program, nothing is watered down in any way, shape, or form, whether by omission or exaggeration. We don't try to get sensational to make it more interesting. In other words, Straight Talk is not about being sensational or creating excitement at the expense of accuracy. We bring you the facts, because I consider it my duty to always present the unvarnished truth, the plain truth, nothing but the truth about governance in my country. And I'm happy that we have the young ones coming along. I call them the young brigade. There's some who don't want to be mentioned, and there's some who I have to mention, otherwise I will get into problems. Young Dwayne can't talk, but his mama says, when he sees Straight Talk on the television, he says, Papa, Papa, Papa. He says it, and he says his mom and his pop. But I think he means patches, patches, patches. Tristan, I haven't seen you for a long time, and I trust you continue to remind your mom, as your mom said, that every Monday and Thursday, it's Straight Talk. Shama over there in Frigate Bay, say greetings to you, to your grandparents, and to your mom. Trust you're doing okay. To Kevin Hanley in Nevis, I trust your move now to the Charleston Secondary School is doing well. And to all the wonderful people in Nevis, I normally tell this story that I'm a Kititian born in Nevis. I've explained that so many times, I don't know if I need to explain that again. Because there are no Libers really from St. Kitts. They are all from Nevis. Don't you think so? And to that special lady in St. Louis, and don't get jealous, my dear Straight Dog family. The Queen in Texas, this is a special lady in St. Louis. I can see her smiling. And one day or one night, she will be on Straight Talk. And we will discuss a very important issue to St. Kitts and Nevis. Whenever she's ready, the program is available. But to all of you, wherever you are, a very pleasant night, morning, afternoon. Greetings to my Straight Dog family. On a sad note, we learned of the passing of Everson Bell of Conry Village, a good friend, former fire substation officer. Stanley has gone to the great beyond. Also to Clover Griffin of Lower Monkey Hill. Extend condolences to your daughter and to your entire family. And I missed someone. I was trying to remember that name before I got on air, but I just can't get that name. But for those of you who've lost loved ones, please accept our sincere condolences. And I know we can say anything to you, but I also know that Jimmy Cliff sang, "Who feels it knows it." And we can tell you anything, but especially when there's someone close to you, my own experience, I know about that. We can say anything to you, but only you who feels it knows it. And all I can say is what someone said to me that gave me some comfort, and that is, death is a process. We always have as well our observations in review, and this is a time when we highlight the issues of the day and we do some reflection. We may have raised some issues before, then we ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also what new we have learned as a people. I've limited my observations in review because I wanted to spend a lot of time on my thesis tonight, which is due process violated, taken over by DREW, D-R-E-W process. So DEU process has continued to be violated, and that has been taken over by the DREW process. My Straight Talk family. And we'll go into that thesis in a moment. But in our first observation, I would just like to extend our congratulations to our own international mega artist, Byron Messiah. Yes, he's our own, no matter what you hear. On his continuing achievements on the international stage. And his groundbreaking album, No Love, has just been awarded the prestigious title of Best Album at the Caribbean Afro Music Awards. And this is good news for St. Kitts and Nevis. This is a milestone achievement which speaks volumes about his natural talent and dedication to his craft. I guess congrats to his mother, or his mothers, because he do have a biological mother in Jamaica. But his mother in St. Kitts, Tammy, I call her Tamrin, and I know she must be feeling proud that she raised Byron Messiah well. So congratulations to all and he continues to make us proud, and we can only wish him Godspeed and wish him the best in his future endeavors. I also intended to do a story as well, and I have somewhat transgressed tonight. I intended to do a story on the SKN St. Kitts Nevis Robotics Association for shining at the first Global Robotics Olympics. And congratulations are in order for Dr. Neil and his team of talented youngsters who continue to impact audiences all over the world wherever they visit. And we here can only wish them continued success, my Straight Talk family. And those brief observations in review are all I'll present tonight because, as I said, I wanted to spend some time on my thesis tonight, which I titled Due Process Violated, Overturned by Due Process. Yes, DEU process, DEU, due process violated, overturned by DREW, due process, my Straight Talk family. And I came to that conclusion after much thought, pensive moods. And in particular, a few days ago, a reporter asked our Prime Minister some very simple but important questions. And you must have realized, like most people have, that most times in his response to the issues raised, it seems as though his brain stops working, but his mouth keeps going. A typical example of this can be gleaned in his segue from the question about the ambassador to his waffling about due process and the development bank. My Straight Talk family, listen yourselves. Listen yourselves, and I am sure you'll come to the same conclusion. First, the questions. The first question was this.
The government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, recently advised that the ambassador had been recalled. That statement did indicate that further information will be forthcoming. Are you in a position to provide that additional information at this point?
Right. Let me say, Jamie, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has put out its statement. I think the statement has been recalled for consultation. And therefore, one would understand that there's a process in all of this. And we should not seek to thwart the process, because every matter, part of it is one, natural justice, and secondly, everybody, due process is critically important. And so when one is recalled for consultations, for whatever the consultations are, after those consultations and a decision is made, then Foreign Affairs said they will communicate, and we should allow the process to take its place.
One more question in regard to that. Now, this week there have been rumors that the ambassador is back in her post at the UN. Can you comment on that?
Right. So basically, I can say that the ambassador is on vacation.
Okay.
And that's where it is. So the ambassador is on vacation, and the consultations are taking place.
And that's what's confusing many. The ambassador is on vacation and the consultations will take place. But then the segue, my Straight Talk family, listen to this.
We should allow the process to take its place. Let me tell you, I have come to recognize and respect that. For example, with the development plan, people were pressuring me. However, I have to be very mindful. I have to make sure that rights are respected, due process is carried out, and that natural justice is at the foundation of all of this. So even though I understand that people would want it, I have to also bear in mind that these principles that we have of good governance and so forth, they must also be respected. Because if one found him or herself in a particular situation, irrespective of everything else, you will want one fundamental thing: natural justice. And part of that is due process.
And my Straight Talk family, when one listens to Dr. Drew, excuse me, when one listens to Dr. Drew, one is forced to ask the question again, whether his brain stopped working while his mouth kept going. And he talks at length with such authority, but in a confused or inconsequential way. So it's a fair question, because a few months ago, for example, Dr. Drew said this about the development bank. Here's what he said.
This one really, really hurts. Is the development bank. Oh boy. Madam Speaker, what took place at the development bank is enough to make a big man cry. But what has been uncovered, Madam Speaker, is over $20-something million can't be accounted for in cash. This again is not some figment of my imagination. Madam Speaker, over $20-something million missing.
But recall, my Straight Talk family, when Dr. Drew took office and was sworn in as Minister of Finance, he did lots of things, some of which we will discuss tonight. But one of the first things he did was to demand the keys, the vehicle, and all property belonging to the bank from its incumbent CEO, Len Harris, who happens to be the brother of former Prime Minister Timothy Harris. Now, Dr. Drew then started a witch hunt at the bank and later advised the country about the findings of a forensic report that, according to him, cannot be left uninvestigated. He said this to the nation.
We had a forensic report. It has been uncovered that significant amount of money is missing that I've mentioned before, and I would leave that there for now. All I would say is that this is being looked at very closely. This is being looked at from many different perspectives, and not to prejudice anything, I would at this time limit how much I say about it, other than to say that a forensic examination has been carried out, there have been findings, and things are being pursued. So the law will be respected all the way through. However, I can say that this forensic report has revealed a lot of things that definitely cannot be left uninvestigated.
Yes, he said that the law must be respected. So then we must ask Dr. Drew if there was due process, as he keeps repeating. Was there due process in this serious matter? Was the former CEO, Len Harris, interviewed by these forensic auditors? And that's another question that Drew must answer. Because if Dr. Drew promotes due process and natural justice, then he ought to know that the right to a hearing, or the right to a fair hearing, I should say, is a basic principle of natural justice. For that reason and that reason alone, the former CEO, Len Harris, had a legal interest in any forensic audit of the development bank he served since his appointment by Denzel Douglas, and should have been allowed to present his case. Also, to challenge, if needed, any evidence against him. So that is my first example that due process was violated and taken over by the due process. And that is, or that has been, the modus operandi from the moment Dr. Drew assumed office in government. It was clear from the onset that his method of dealing with his political opponents was to persecute and not to prosecute. Flashback to September last year, 1 month after the swearing-in ceremony of the Jew Labor Administration. I brought to your attention an uncomfortable moment for the young minds of our country who attended or listened to excerpts from the second annual Youth Forum of the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament, Sniper, and more so for those who witnessed the Honorable Senator and new Attorney General vomit as he seemed to have lost control of his bowels, which obviously affected his brain. The said forum focused on leadership under the theme, a new era, or era as some would say, breaking the barrier, reimagining youth leaders, and was held on Wednesday the 21st of September 2022. A moment of great disappointment engulfed the forum during the question and answer period as the Attorney General started puking and vomiting from what appeared to be a sudden viral infection in the stomach or some other gastrointestinal problem or a reaction to something the Attorney General ate. And I have learned from a friend of mine who is a medical doctor that the brain and the gastrointestinal system are closely connected. So many came to that conclusion because the accusations by the newly appointed Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin concerning impropriety or corruptive practices had left more questions than answers regarding the role of and functions of this important office. Also, the honor, obligation, and values of the individuals who are appointed to this job. I told you about the old saying which goes like this, and I quote, "He who comes to justice must come to her with clean hands." The old saying is just a reminder that any accuser or anyone making allegations should ensure that he or she is clean from unpardonable and unethical behavior. And what did we find out next? Lo and behold, we found out, beg your pardon, that the Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin broke the law. He deducted monies from the wages of his nanny, failed to match her contribution, and paid into the Social Security Fund in accordance with the law. And that judgment is clear, as Justice Tamara Gillo opined, that a Social Security payment after the time prescribed by the legislation constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. And you can find that decision on the Eastern Caribbean High Court or Supreme Court's website if you wish to search for it. But that is why I submit that it is hypocritical to send the two Bristol brothers to jail to 1840 for 4 months when Mark Brantley and his CCM NIA, his CCM Nevis Island Administration, has not paid nearly $20 million into the Social Security Fund for the deductions taken from the salaries and wages of hard-working public servants in Nevis. That is a criminal offense. It must also, my straight dog family, it must also be hypocritical. It must be hypocritical, my straight dog family, for the Christopher Harbour. Yes, the Christopher Harbour, hear me well. It must also be hypocritical for the Christopher Harbour to owe the Social Security Board, my straight dog family. I repeat it again. It must also be critical for the Christopher Harbour to owe the Social Security Board, my straight dog family, millions of dollars. I understand near $10 million for salary deductions from their staff, my straight dog family, that derive and have not matched, beg your pardon, their contributions and paid these monies into the Social Security Fund according to the law. And would you believe that Christopher Harbour tried to batter their position? They tried to offset their debt by offering land. And I learned today that Skelec, under the former minister, had in fact agreed to such a barter agreement, that Skelec got a land from Christopher Harbour for the electricity debt. I still don't believe that. And I've heard people really even accusing me as a former minister of Skelec that we bartered land, we exchanged land for debt with Christopher Harbour. And it's hard, very hard for me to believe that Skelec did that. But that's the information I got just today, confirmed today, my straight dog family. But you see, why, we ask, isn't Dr. Jude telling us about these things? Instead, he tells us, and rightly so, about the Development Bank debt to the Social Security Board, which it borrowed to unlend to the Fresh Start program for young entrepreneurs, to unlend to first-time homeowners in the civil service, also our children who wanted to study overseas. And Dr. Ju knows, Dr. Ju very well knows, and as bad as he says that the Development Bank was doing, on the contrary, Dr. Ju reduced the interest rates, my straight dog family, on those student loans. And perhaps rightly so, my straight dog family. But things are so bad, yet it did the contrary.
I want to announce today that come June 1st, existing student loans in the Development Bank will now be reduced to 5%. I think when we made the first announcement, I said we are going to come back and announce something else. And so students who are presently paying at 9%, from the 1st of June, you are encouraged to go to the Development Bank and have your interest reduced from 9% down to 5%.
And that's why I told you, my straight dog family, that his brain at times seems to stop working while his mouth keeps going. Because he said the development bank is doing so bad, yet he reduces interest rates on loans already disbursed for years to many students. My Stray Dog family, when we think about due process, therefore, we think of something which agrees, which comports with the deepest notions of what is fair and right and just. The concept of due process as we know it refers to the fair treatment of an individual through the normal judicial system. It is a legal requirement that enacted laws may not contain provisions that result in unfair, arbitrary, or unreasonable treatment of an individual. It was over 800 years ago, the Magna Carta, which is a charter of liberty and political rights obtained from King John of England by his rebellious barons at Runnymede in the year of our Lord 1215, came to be seen as the pioneering, the seminal document of English constitutional practice. It is recorded that in this document King John promised that no free man shall be taken or imprisoned or deceased or exiled or in any way destroyed, nor will we go upon him or send upon him except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. But in modern times, like these times, when we hear of due process, reference is being made to fair procedures such as the right to a hearing, or as most say, the rules of natural justice. But tonight, earlier, my Stray Dog family, I referred to the Terence Michael due process, hereinafter called due process. In more recent times, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis unveiled an initiative he called the Independence 40 Reset. But in fact, what he has done, according to most political pundits, is to formalize the due process, which is based on three principles, my Stray Dog family. The first is the lack of transparency. Think about our CBI program, our Citizenship by Investment program, and its failure to release information on this foreign direct investment program. This program yields over 50% of our non-tax revenue. But Dr. Jew has not been forthcoming about the sale of our passports. Believe it or not, the last and only time, underline that, the last and only time the government received that information was approximately 5 years ago, when Timothy Harris told us this, my Stray Dog family.
Last time I had reported that under the program we were advised by the Canadian banknote, who manages our passport, that 10,777 had been issued at the end of December 2015. And we have the revised information from the banknote, which says that up to 2015, really, the figure should have been 12,496. And the total number of CBI passport now issued stands at 16,544.
And my Stray Dog family, as I said, the first and only time and the last time when the country received that information. And asked about the information on several occasions. Dr. Jew has lied between his teeth and has referred journalists to the CIU, my Straight Dog family. Believe it or not, he did this, he said this, rather.
You know another thing that has to stop? The ongoing failure to inform the people about the number of economic citizenship passports that have been issued over the years. This should be public knowledge. Freedom of information, family, remember that?
I prematurely played that wrong soundbite. I'll get back to that soundbite for you. But Dr. Jew has, in the past, as I said, lied between his teeth and has referred journalists to the CIU for this information. On many occasions, Dr. Jew has not released the information. He has not released the information at all, my Straight Dog family. And this is what he keeps saying, this is the way, I should say, he keeps responding whenever he's asked that particular question, my Straight Dog family. This is what he said. This is what I wanted to expose you to.
Right. Thank you very much for your questions. As you know, with respect to the CBI, and you have mentioned some numbers, you would have been paying attention to the fact that the CBI has gone through significant changes with respect to the legislation that governs it, and also, or at least, I would say, the regulations. And at least you would have also recognized that that was in transformation. The other thing that you would recognize is that there was a change in the leadership and CEO at the Citizenship by Investment Unit. And one would expect that while you're in transition, changing laws, regulations, and so forth, that of course would have its own delay in certain things. And so now you have a CEO there in place, and you as a member of the media, a member of the public, now have the opportunity to really approach and seek as a journalist the answers to the questions that you seek, so you can get those specific ones. As I told you, that will be available, and so that you can ask those relevant questions.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, he failed at all times to provide pertinent information about our greatest revenue earner, the CBI, which accounts for 35% or thereabout of our GDP. And once again, there goes his mouth not working in tandem with his brain. Because only Dr. Jew signs certificates of registration. No one else can. And he must have known how many certificates of registration he had signed. You've heard it's thousands. But when asked about passports by a friendly journalist, the current CEO considered the information important, but he too failed to release it, my Straight Dog family. This is what the current CEO had to say, my Straight Dog family.
One of the things that we are looking at is the regular publication of statistics that we believe also is very important and of great interest to our people. Well, things like the number of applicants, number of passports, the revenue brought in by CBI, expenses, it's all part of being transparent and accountable, because it's very important that something of this nature ought to be transparent. It's a program that confers citizenship on virtual strangers, people who were not born here. And so it's very important for us to inform the public of what is going on.
So important, my Straight Dog family, yet they fail to provide the information, and only God knows why. And in recent time, Dwyer Astafan and I have been at variance in opinions on many issues. But on this one, I must agree with Astafan when he said this, my Straight Dog family.
You know another thing that has to stop? The ongoing failure to inform the people about the number of economic citizenship passports that have been issued over the years. This should be public knowledge. Freedom of information, remember that?
Yes, we all remember that, Dwyer. But this is another clear example of the continuing deceitful behavior of Dr. Drew that is deliberately intended to make people believe some things which are not true. His distortion of the truth for the purpose of misleading the citizens of this country continues. Remember, he told us about the country in the red. And then sometime after he changed that position, and he told a journalist overseas, a radio program, an observer to be exact, that he had saved for a rainy day. He told us about new dialysis machines, and machines were put in storage. Then he told us about the Leo Estridge donation. The Leo Estridge donation. And just last week, my Straight Dog family, he lied again about these machines as his tongue slipped, and he referred to the new dialysis machines. Listen carefully, my Straight Dog family.
The dialysis machines that we got at the hospital, those came through Mr. Leo Estridge from Canada, who is a dialysis technician and who worked with a team to bring those to St. Kitts. And when I hear people seeking to criticize them, I say, wow, that is below the pale.
Listen carefully again, my Straight Dog family, at the beginning of the soundbite. Listen carefully.
The dialysis machines that we got at the hospital, those came through Mr. Leo Estridge from Canada, who is a dialysis technician and who worked with a team to bring those to St. Kitts. And when I hear people seeking to criticize them, I say, wow, that is below the pale.
And my Straight Dog family, you heard him clearly. The dialysis machines, he got caught. You know, they say a liar has no memory. That is so true. Such a true statement, my Straight Dog family. My Straight Dog family, but how could this be below the pale, according to Dr. Drew? Or I think he meant beyond the pale. But he told the country that he told the country that I procured new dialysis machines. We did not fabricate that. You did not, I did not. He told the country this.
I've also procured new dialysis machines because at the hospital we needed new dialysis machines. As you know, when we got there, we thought that there was not enough. As a medical doctor, I know that. And so we have procured. And so when they come in, I'll give the names and so forth of those who would have sourced them for us and so forth. The dialysis machines.
So, my Straight Dog family, it was Dr. Drew who said, I also procured new dialysis machines. So he lied, or his brain stopped working, but his mouth kept going. The second principle is the lack of frank and fair consultation. Think of the housing revolution 2,400 homes in 4 years. $650 million would be put into the economy. Then we learned suddenly, my Stray Dog family, that the houses are not for poor people. The houses are for persons who are bankable, according to the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin, my Stray Dog family.
It is not government buying the houses or NHC buying the houses. It's individuals buying the houses. This is the solution for persons who are bankable and can take a mortgage loan from a credit union or a bank, and they can purchase their one-bedroom house for $111,000, their two-bedroom for $213,000, and their three-bedroom for $497,000.
My Stray Dog family, with the level of poverty increasing daily under this Jew Labor administration, which poor man can go to a bank to get a loan for $111,000 for a one-bedroom house? A two-bedroom for $213,000, and a three-bedroom house for $297,000. Which poor man can go to a commercial bank and get such a loan? The poor man wants help from the NHC. The legislation speaks to providing assistance or housing for the indigent. That's what it says. An opportunity to stimulate our economy during the tourism off-season went a-begging because of a very, very poor decision by Stray Dog family. Samuel Duggins, in cricket terms, it is said, he dropped the ball. He dropped the ball in the opinion of all of us when he insulted the nation, the federation, about his preference to host warm-up matches only for the 2024 T20 ICC World Cup Cricket Tournament. He insulted the nation or the federation when he said this, my Stray Dog family.
Let me say this. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis has taken the approach to be involved in the Cricket World Cup as far as it relates to many of the fringed activities and not necessarily the direct game matches as was highlighted. Now, there were a number of countries that bid for those matches, and those matches will be hosted in those countries.
My Stray Dog family, I said before, but it bears repeating, that Samuel Duggins, beg your pardon, obviously is unaware that cricket is ranked number 2 behind football, with a total of 2.5 billion fans around the world, most of whom will be glued to their televisions next year to watch World Cup matches live. St. Kitts Nevis will therefore miss this golden opportunity to be introduced to the world, my Stray Dog family. But public stakeholder consultation would have given everyone affected or who has an interest in these economic activities, would have given them an opportunity to share their views on the issues. Not even an input was solicited from the St. Kitts Cricket Association. Would you believe that, my Stray Dog family? This is what the president said.
We weren't really party to any decisions, any meetings or anything. We were only aware that the process was happening. We weren't part of it to help make decisions or even for an input.
And yes, my Stray Dog family, that is what we call the Terence Michael Drew process. the due process, my straight talk family. The third principle on which the due process is based is the lack of accountability and what seems to be the right to do wrong. Decisions are made in the cover of darkness. But when the light comes, it shines brightly on the corrupt practices, on the nepotism in the Jew labor administration. Ironically, about 10 or 11 years ago, a former financial secretary from Nevis, Laurie Lawrence, warned of procurement being an area of corruption. My straight talk family. Laurie Lawrence warned all of us about procurement being an area of corruption when he said this to us all.
Procurement is another area, and from my own experience, I suspect that is an area of corruption, and we need to address it. We need for more transparent procurement processes and international bidding practices, and we need to establish appropriate protest and complaint mechanism.
Who would believe, my straight talk family, that Dr. Drew touts words like transparency every day, but circumvents the legislation that's in place? One of the first things Dr. Drew did was to appoint himself as the Minister of Finance, beg your pardon. Then establish what appears to be like an arm of the Public Works Department within the office of the Prime Minister, and appointed a young lady as the project manager. He then embarked upon the construction of the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Museum, my straight talk family, at an estimated cost of $4 million, which doubled in short order to $8 million. And that project is nowhere near completion.
Currently it's under construction, and we're hoping, really pushing to see if we can complete it by September 16th. I know that's a lofty goal, but we are really pushing. If not, definitely we want to complete it by this year. We expect it to cost in the region of maybe about $4 million. Construction is going on, and to about maybe $4 million grand total at the end of the day.
And that amount has been doubled to $8 million. No procurement whatsoever. He engaged his comrades and friends outside of the procurement process, my straight talk family. Yes, Williams Architecture, Lennox Warner as contractors, Jenkins Construction, Peter Jenkins as engineer, and my straight talk family, the landscapers as well. It's $8 million, my straight talk family. Listen to this. If $8 million was not lucrative enough, he identifies with another, the procurement of 1,000 water tanks. 1,000 water tanks, my straight talk family. And let me hasten to say that I am happy for the relief brought to the residents of St. Peter's and Kearn. But I am unhappy. I am totally unhappy with the process. The process which, according to Drew, started with an idea. An idea from whom? He told us this.
Water tank. That idea was brought to me, Mr. Ashley Allen. Said, look, the people on the water, why you don't think about giving them water? Told us this. Water which is a need. Why you can't give even those who are most affected and receptacle for water?
My straight talk family, it then changed smoothly, it seems, or as it may have seemed, I should say, to Dr. Drew and company into a $5.8 million contract by Straight Talk family. From an idea, it changed into a $5.8 million contract.
We have sent the fire truck, we have sent the water truck. We continue to send the fire truck, we continue to send the water truck. We have signed a contract to purchase water storage tanks. So at least when the water truck goes, they have a larger receptacle to store the water. I would also like to thank Mr. Ashley Allers, because he's the one who brought the idea of how we can help with the storage receptacles that we're going to launch.
And my Straight Talk family, that contract as well was not tendered. And Ashley Allers confirmed that the tanks are available at TDC and hospital. My Straight Talk family. Ashley Allers confirmed that these tanks are available at TDC and hospitals. And these are his words. These are not my words, my Straight Talk family. These are the words of Ashley Allers, who confirmed, like I said, that these tanks are available at TDC and at hospitals, my Straight Talk family. They are available, I say one more time, at TDC and hospitals. And these are the words that came from his own mouth. We don't fabricate here, we provide the evidence. This is what he said.
In fact, the same tank that TDC selling, the same tank that ODB selling, same company.
Yes, my Straight Talk family. A drive on the main road going towards Frigate Bay would reveal or would confirm that what I call real tanks are on display by TDC. Real tanks. These are what are on display by TDC. The cost of the tanks bought by Ashley Allers and are being distributed is estimated at $5.8 thousand per tank. When they were sourced from Rotoplastics in Trinidad and Tobago, the cost for a 650-gallon tank in Trinidad and Tobago, my Straight Talk family, is $1,532. That's Trinidad dollars, or hear this, $612.80. Whereas in Barbados, a 600-gallon tank, my Straight Talk family, is sold at Barbados $539 Barbados dollars, or $728.39, my Straight Talk family. And you can look. There's no need to doubt us. These are the exchange rates you will find that are published by the central bank, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. A Barbados dollar is 1.35 EC dollars. So do the calculation. 539 Barbados dollars, that's 728 EC dollars. Look at Trinidad and Tobago. The exchange rate is 40 cents. So Trinidad, $1,532 yields EC dollars $612, my Straight Talk family. And this information It's nothing we fabricate. These are this is the information that that is available to everyone, my Straight Talk family. And the TDC quote, my Straight Talk family, the TDC quote on a 450-gallon tank is EC $1,367, my Straight Talk family. $1,367. And we always, as well, provide the evidence. The evidence is here for us to see, my Straight Talk family. A 450-gallon tank, $1,367 at TDC. And this is duty paid, my Straight Talk family. But Ashley Allers contends that with the accessories, and he's right. Ashley Allers contends that a tank is almost $12,000, my Straight Talk family.
You're getting housing for the pump. You're casting the platform with concrete to rest the tank on. The fittings, you come with a smart head. You're talking about almost $12,000 value.
And my Straight Talk family, so is Allers telling us that his 1,000 tanks should or will eventually cost the country $12 million? Is that what he's saying to us, my Straight Talk family? The pump that's required, the PVC pipes and the cement. So my Straight Talk family, why wasn't a quotation solicited from TDC or from ODB, or should I say from TDC and or ODB, as required by the law? My Straight Talk family, why is the question we ask? We ask that question. Why was there no notice of solicitation or pre-qualification in at least 2 newspapers as per Section 13 of the Procurement and Administration Act? Read it for yourselves, my Straight Talk family. Read it for yourselves. A solicitation for a procurement by tender or an invitation to pre-qualify for a procurement by tender. Notice must be given in at least 2 newspapers of general circulation in the Federation no less than 6 weeks before the day and time for the close of the bids or proposals or invitations to be or to pre-qualify as the case may be. And that's what the legislation says, my Straight Talk family. Straight Talk, nonetheless, did its own calculation based on the lowest supplier quote from ODB. A tank costs $150. That's a 400-gallon tank. It's sold at the local supplier for $1,000 EC for a 400-gallon tank. And this includes duty paid and VAT and custom service charge. A pump only, a cam 50 hertz equals $154. We added $1,000 for PVC pipe for cement and labor costs, giving us a total of $1,304 or EC dollars $3,543.07, my Straight Talk family. And this is being rather generous. This translates into an overall profit on each tank of $2,300, or on 1,000 tanks, $2.3 million, my Straight Talk family, on 1,000 1,400 gallon tanks. No wonder, as we said, no wonder Ashley Allah's smiled to the bank. From the government treasury to the development bank, then allegedly a $5.8 million loan was disbursed. My Straight Talk family, these are the questions we ask. Straight Talk is therefore asking our Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin. And again, I am willing to give the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin another opportunity to redeem himself. I thus ask you, Attorney General, is this a rape of the Treasury you referred to earlier when you assumed office?
Small acts of corruption tolerated by leaders evolve into systematic corruption, easily and sometimes overnight. Only a leader with integrity can put an end to corrupt practices within the institution he or she leads. Because a leader with integrity will not take bribes, he or she will also seek to eradicate bribery within the structure of the institution by setting clear anti-corruption policies and by policing them. In my context, being a minister of government, albeit for a couple of weeks, the way we plan to begin to tackle the currently existing widespread corruption in our federation is by fully operationalizing the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the Anti-Corruption Act, which will work as the three pillars of protection from the treasury rapists that currently exist throughout our ministry.
I ask the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin as well, who committed the crime? Ashley Allahs or Terence Michael Jew, our Prime Minister?
Our Procurement Act requires that there be a competitive bidding process to ensure the government gets value for money, and it makes it a crime to spend money from the Treasury without the procurement process being completed.
My Straight Dog family, there was no competitive bidding process, or else TDC and OD Brisbane would have been given an opportunity to tender, to bid. No one can conclude that at a cost of $5,800, the government got value for money. Who can conclude that the government got value for money? My Straight Dog family, the erosion of due process means the erosion of justice. Integrity and decency in public life are crumbling daily in our beloved federation under Dr. Terence Michael Jew as Prime Minister. The political modus operandi of the Dr. Jew administration, now dominating our political culture, has become a refusal to accept responsibility for mistakes, overclaiming, deceit, and sometimes outright lies to justify the unjustifiable. Once the electorate can no longer trust what they are told, democratic debate is denied, and we have been robbed of a core right of our citizenship. Lies, dishonesty, incompetence, and betrayal are familiar words that are often entangled together in the proverbial web of deceit. We now live in a culture that puts retaining power above integrity. Polarization makes it difficult for people to agree on basic facts concerning government performance, presenting a formidable barrier to the rapid restoration of trust. So pertinent questions from the objective will be asked, but not answered, my Straight Talk family. Like this one.
I'm speaking specifically of water now. If the government before could have purchased garbage bins for every household and effect that project in a pretty short time, why is it so impossible for the government to do the same thing with the water tanks?
And yes, I just got word from someone in Connery that they have no water. Would Connery get some tanks as well? Why isn't everybody getting tanks? Come to think of it, my Straight Talk family, in our democracy, there are no requirements for running for office. None whatsoever. Anyone can wake up in the morning and decide that he or she wants to run for a seat in Parliament. Fortunately though, the examples we have are not numerous, as I can think only of a few, like Cowelby Blake, we call him Cooper, like Licky Bird and like Graberment. I don't know if you know any others, but those got up and ran for office and never got their deposit back. Our current Prime Minister is performing what can be considered his first real job. He has no real experience, no real world experience for that matter, as all he has done on his return from studies in Cuba is to play political games. Drew stepped into government headquarters in Church Street without having ever had any experience of government and exhibiting a work profile from a little medical office in St. Peter's that could not in any way conceivably prepare him for the job of Prime Minister. My Straight Talk family. That could not have prepared him. But instead of surrounding himself with seasoned advisors, he chose, for example, a rabble-rouser from St. Paul's called Appleton, a failed politician from East Basseterre called Fresh Face, and continues to distance himself from the only tried and tested leader, Dr. Denzil Douglas. He is fortunate to have in his cabinet, as he calls himself, simply the best. But Drew promised not to walk in the shadow of Denzil Douglas. But if he was clever, my Straight Talk family, if Dr. Drew was clever, he would at least try to glean something from a man of over 30 years in politics, almost 20 of those years in a government as Prime Minister, and someone with real world experience. He can learn nothing from the snake called Mark Brantley, except his arrogant ways. And Douglas described Mark Brantley in the only way he could, my Straight Talk family. Douglas described Mark Brantley in this way, and I'm sure we won't disagree with Dr. Douglas.
Only you have sense. Nobody else in this parliament has sense. It bothers me because there is no need for that kind of arrogance. He's the most intelligent person in the world. He's the most sensible person in the world. He is the richest parliamentarian in the world. It's a glimpse of the nature of the member for me to see. Arrogant, pompous, talking down to people. And that's not a good attitude for a politician. You need to change your attitude. You need to stop talking ill of people.
And Drew must distance himself, we warn him tonight, from that snake called Mark Brantley. So anyone would do like Dr. Douglas. Just cock his foot and sip or drink his coffee. That's what he does and travels the world.
Me drink me coffee and cock my foot. Me drink me coffee and cook me food. Me drink me coffee and
So
cook
who?
me food.
Who my straight dog family could be mad with Dr. Douglas? Just drink your coffee, cock your foot, and travel the world. In the meanwhile, in the office of Prime Minister, we are stuck with an arrogant leader who is confused with the power that has been thrusted upon him just like that. And this has resulted in our due process being violated and taken over by the Terence Michael due process, my straight dog family. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I tarried long, but it was important that I do so, because this change we are seeing in our country is not good for our future. But I'll open the lines, my straight dog family. I'll give you back the time, or some time, that I used myself. But if you are so minded to call the numbers again, 663 6672, my straight dog family, and 646 829 6672. I always like to implore you that when I open the lines, and I'll do so in a few seconds, but I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourself. Let us try to be fair to our concern. And let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 9:23, let me say good night, caller. You're live. Hello, caller. How are you, sir? How are you? Mr. Bible?
I am fine. I am wonderful, Mr. Padgett. Mm-hmm. God is good to me.
To us all.
I've been enjoying my wonderful Christian life. And I give God thanks and praise, Mr. Padgett, for another night and another day. Mr. Padgett, I am reading from Malachi chapter 4. And I am verse 1. Behold, the day cometh, that shall be burned like an oven. All the proud, yea, all them do wickedly, shall be stubborn. And the day that cometh shall burn them up. Let the Lord uphold that it shall neither leave them neither root nor branches. Mr. Padgett, tonight I am going to tell you something, my brother. We are living in this world. I ain't going to talk too long. We are living in this world here. And so, we do everything that we want. And so, we call down, we do that, we do everything that, and so, But God is saying tonight, come a day that them that do wickedly, they're going to be born up. God is going to purify this earth here, Mr. Package. When he don't take out his chosen few. And them who are born again, washed in the blood, they have to worry. So when this thing is happening, and they're going to leave all the money with the God, they're going to leave it for the Antichrist. To make the long story short, Mr. Package, in Revelation chapter 21, John says he saw a new heaven, a new earth coming down.
Okay.
And so that new heaven will come down when the whole earth done purified. Mr. Patel, the time is short. I ain't going no. I could go more, but I ain't going no more than this.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So I am telling you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
People, get your act in order. Jesus is coming soon.
Okay.
So crave all what you want crave, but you're going to let them here. So that is bye-bye.
Thanks a lot for your input, the Bible man, as usual. Never out of words. You spoke to Malachi. Not too familiar with that book. I can tell you I'll have to go and search it for myself to keep abreast. I know you normally give us the Psalms, but for some reason you have not done that in recent times. Let's go back to the lines at 9:28. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Lolibert.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Carl Wrong here.
How are you, Carl?
Mr. Lolibert, you were able to find out anything concerning the criteria for parents to obtain the $250 voucher. And how many children in a household to obtain this, because many parents are still complaining that they have not seen or heard anything of this voucher. And the Ministry of Education and nobody is saying anything about it. The latest hype talk from the Ministry of Education is that they are giving every child from 4 years old to 16 years old a laptop. They start the laptop program again. They say that is coming up very shortly, where every child in primary school and up to high school to the age of 16 will be getting this, and every teacher. So how come that they are claiming that every teacher and every student is going to get a laptop or possibly a tablet, but every student cannot get $250 voucher, which we all know $250 easy voucher cannot buy a tablet, cannot buy a laptop. And we're asking the question, how much child per parent in a home is entitled to this voucher? Because remember, we are international court, Mr. Libert, we must left no child behind. Right? Yes. And as I tell you last week, over in Nevis, they are claiming that only 2 children per home. They are giving, so if you got 4 children going to school, only 2 going to get it over in Nevis. We are asking the question, how much children in St. Kitts is entitled per parent to this voucher? And if that program has stopped, and the reason why it stopped, and the reason why many parents have not received this voucher yet, because it was supposed to be an Independence Party gift to the students. The other thing is, Mr. Abbott, Ashley claimed that he ordered 1,000 tanks. Now, Mr. Abbott, we know 1,000 tanks is not even enough for St. Peter's with the water problem that we know over the many years under several governments. We have Keys, we have Connery, we have Canada, we have Keon, right? So how are they sharing? The question is, how are they sharing these tanks? Because we know St. Peter's is a very, very big constituency. And 1,000 tanks ain't even enough for St. Peter's. Much more, another, you have Keon, Keys, Canada, and Keon. They say they are giving some in Keon. So how they split this? Is it 500 for St. Peter's and 500 for Keon? And the question is to Mr. Allers and Dr. Terence Drew, is they are going to order any more of these tanks, because you have not even touched 4% of the people in constituency 8 with that 1,000 tanks. Those are my things for tonight, Mr. Leibert.
Thanks a lot.
Any comments or questions?
I'll resolve those comments, and I don't recall that you had asked me to do that homework, but I forgive me if I overlooked that, and I will see what information I can get. But thanks a lot for your intervention, my brother. Okay, thanks a lot. And in terms of the number of children per home, I think we had a discussion, yes, on that. And as I said before, it has to be discriminatory, any sort of decision like that, just to give a certain amount of children in one home, my straight dog family. Dr. Martin reads this message. You need to be objective and speak the truth when you are on the Friday afternoon show. You don't have to sing so loud and to the top of your voice for your supper. For the entire Federation is fully aware that you have to sing for your monthly $10,000 salary for doing virtually nothing. Imagine a lady called in to complain about the government lackadaisical and sluggish behavior in dealing with the increase of the minimum wage. Instead, you provide the woman and all others who are desperately waiting for this $500 overdue increase a satisfying and comfortable answer. The diversion went off at a most ridiculous, bum and stupid tangent, asking the woman if she was aware the country was open 6 months late. You are lying, Martin. The country was open at the appropriate time post-COVID on the premise of the health authorities. Dr. Hazel Laws and Wilkerson, not Dr. Harris, as you and Dr. Jew are erroneously propagating for months now. And even so, the lady not concerned whether the country was open late or early. She has a fundamental argument, Dr. Martin. She needs an increase. She is not as fortunate as you, getting pension, social security, and recalled to be an advisor in health with an additional monthly salary of over $10,000. You are heartless and have no shame. Go away, you little singing bird, and stop singing for your supper. Reads that email. Let's go back to the lines, caller. Thank you for holding your live.
Good night, Dr. John Patches Libert.
How are you, my dear brother? This is your humble servant, Patches, yes.
Okay, man. Your radical friend culture is okay.
Good.
And let me say good evening to my family down in Sandy Point who heard me up tonight. Are you not getting any feedback?
Yes, I'm hearing the equipment.
Getting feedback?
I'm hearing equipment in the
Okay,
background.
sorry about that. A feedback is coming to the phone, so move that. Let me go talk about the issues of the country. Good night, Carl. Be good. You sound like Sonny Liston, man. You're punching hard. But it's a shame to see St. Kitts is so small. And any angle you look around in St. Kitts, one can see the ocean. And there's a great population of people in St. Kitts cannot swim. What are they going to do? What are they going to do if they have to be on the water and something happens like Cristiano? People get some ambition and learn to swim. Is that like far in some states in America where they cannot see the water? Okay? Enough of that. Let me go to this lying man here they call Dr. Joe. I mean, when you play them soundbites tonight, everybody can compare what he say in the morning to what he say lunchtime. He say one thing in the morning and by lunchtime he don't change him out. How he say lie? He living a lie. He talk about $20-something million missing from the development bank. But how he could come out with that kind of statement that $20-something million missing from the development bank. But up to now, he done gone a year and 2 months, and he cannot give an answer of how many passports he signed up to. Why is it when people cannot answer to the truth that they know they're speaking the truth? When they cannot answer to that, is a lie. And when a Christian is asked of them or something else, and they know they're speaking the truth, they come right away and give the answer. But for this passport business here, he cannot say how many, because something is wrong. He has done something wrong. In the first 90 days in there, the question been asked of him, and up to now, he don't wanting people to go so, and all this kind of thing. And he has to put his signature on it. That is showing the people of the world that man is a brilliant liar. Taiwan's joke. New radical culture saying that you as the Prime Minister, you are to lie. And you need to stop telling lies. That's why you see Doyle. I agree with the soundboy where you play with Doyle, you know. Transparency and integrity, and you're not showing that. And Patrick, I will ask you to please play the soundboy over and over from Doyle when Doyle said they're not doing what he said he's going to do. I'll move unless somebody is coming because they're going to come back. Oh, before I go, I want everybody in St. Kitts, please learn your rights. Everyone should know their rights. Because if you don't know your rights, people trample you. This money, what he said, he's going to pay back from Social Security to people who are paid. But once you're not living here, you're not entitled to get it. By now, those people overseas, even Station, the closest island to St. Kitts, if somebody don't work that time and they retire and they decide to go station, go cool out, what do you need to tell me? No, the money that they can pay from the Social Security to those people, not entitled to it, but I know they could sue him, and they should sue him as the leader of the country. Until I'll go and come back. Thank you.
Thank you for your intervention. It's 9:39. Hi, Patches. Good evening. Reads this email. You are correct. The clueless Prime Minister Drew and Greenhorn Attorney General Wilkin are just out to smear the good name of the former CEO of the Development Bank for cheap political points. But we know, and we've all grown up hearing the old people say, the hardest thing is to know. That Greenhorn Attorney General Garth Wilkin has the distinction of being the only Attorney General in the entire Caribbean to have been judged by a court of having committed a criminal offense before and while in office. The Greenhorn lawyer Wilkin didn't even have the moral fortitude to resign, having brought the country's reputation and the position he holds into disrepute. This other email reads, last week I listened to a caller on Straight Talk in which he reminded me of the old saying, the pot are called the kettle black, because he characterized the host as a stupid person, talking stupidness. Well, I don't know if he was able to convince anybody except himself. When he was confronted with the undeniable facts, he shamefully absconded. However, on the following day, he called into another talk show with a complete distortion and falsification of the facts that Straight Talk had presented. The culprit was saying that there was other competitors and he won the tender, which was so laughable, for not one sensible soul believed his concocted story. What made me mad is when he started calling the host of Straight Talk stupid and lie. Stupid you talking about, boy? You have no shame, boy. Only stupid people behave like you. Drunk in a cemetery at a funeral and carrying on like a real stupid fool. Only a stupid man would get charged and fighting like hell now to get the case dropped. That is the behavior of a real stupid man and a perfect case where the pot is calling the kettle black. Go and get some common sense. My friend reads this email. This other email reads, Mr. Honorable Attorney General, you have a golden opportunity now to prove yourself as a man of fairness, honesty, and integrity. Remember, one of the first public statements you made was that you are not afraid of anybody, that you were given a job to do, and you will do your job. You further stated that you were going to embarrass some people who were unkind to the Treasury because they were taking advantage of the government money. You said you were in two minds whether to prosecute or embarrass them. You talk about the tendering process that was not followed. You said you were sure that as you speak right now, some people are shaking and trembling in their boots, and they have too. You said you are going to bring an end to corruption in this country with the good governance agenda laws. You propose to bring to Parliament. My question to you, Mr. AG, the contract that was given to Ashley Allers with regards to the water tanks, was the tendering process followed according to the law? Will you have the courage to investigate this matter and take the requisite action and report to the country on your findings with the same belligerence, vociferousness, and combativeness you displayed on becoming the AG? Remember, you are not afraid of anybody, so take action and prove to us that you are a man of your word. It's now 9:44, my Straight Talk family. If you have just joined us, we are discussing our thesis for tonight, due process violated, taken over by the Terence Michael due process, the due process as we call it. And we are entertaining your calls, my Straight Talk family. And this email as well, I'll get rid of the emails in the meanwhile. Even so often, I would hear people say, Harris said, don't listen to Freedom Radio. That is a complete lie, and I've taken what Harris said out of context. It is foolishness for anyone to think Harris or anyone could stop them from listening to any radio station. Unlike Dr. Simmons, when he was going to address the Federation of ZIZ, all other stations had to cease their program and bring Simmons' address. In the case of Harris, he said people would tell him the bad things they are saying about Team Unity and his government, and many a times they feel to mash up their radio. Harris's response to them was, you don't have to do all of that and worry to carry up your blood pressure. Just stop listening to them. That was all Harris said. So when I hear some people saying that Harris had said not to listen to Freedom, they are lying. Harris said so. When I hear some people saying that Harris had said to do not listen to Freedom, they are lying. Beg your pardon. I read that again. Ironically now, they said Freedom Radio are advising people not to listen to patches on Straight Talk. But they themselves are fully in tune every week and not only listen but do the recording as well as of each show. Thank God for Straight Talk. It uncovers and exposes all the corruption practices by a Labour and CCM administration and that has them mad, reads this email. I am minded, I am indeed saddened, beg your pardon, reads this email, with the Labour government. There is nothing good anyone has to say about them, not even their people. But how much are we going to take? The Minister of Aviation, Samal, that should be, and he's not the Minister of Aviation, but yes, aviation. Okay, I'm sorry about that. The Minister of Aviation, Samal, yes, aviation, because he's always on the plane with whoever at the expense of taxpayers' money. And when the time for us to get paid, he never responded to the email. Patches, the officials wanted to host the World Cup here, but the Minister of Aviation never responded to the said email. But guess what he did? Blames the former government at how the park ain't up to par. When if he wasn't sucking Labour's breasts, he wouldn't have to focus again. All Labour is doing is focusing on any bit of money they can to fill themselves and their families' pockets. They cuss Timothy when they are worse than him. Not one of them could walk in Tim's shoes because the light was shining in St. Kitts with Tim, but St. Kitts lost its shine, reads this email. Anytime I hear Dr. Jew, he reminds me of DJ Khaled's Another Lie. The reason why Jew speaks like that is because he is a clone. Why nobody listening to me? Jew speaks, then stops abruptly, has a hiccup with a glass of water, then his brain cells kick in with a few fumbling terms, then hiccup again. St. Kitts is like the Israelites who were to enter the promised land and because of their disobedience, beg your pardon, as a result, the entire nation was made to wander in the desert for 40 years until almost the entire generation of men died. Patches, that sounds familiar? If the people in St. Kitts were an inch spiritual, they would have never put back Labour there. But we will see who survives this wandering. I and family for sure will. Not you alone, but all the ministers in Labour are liars, reads this other email. Patches, can you tell us what is the current position of the 15 used dialysis machines that were brought into the country? Reads this other email. Trying to keep abreast with my emails, so forgive me. Good night, Patches. At present, there is no water in Shadwell. Water goes nightly. Are we entitled to a free water tank? Asks this emailer. Good night, Patches. Imagine Samal opens a brand new office and cut ribbon, and that made news. That is how bad things get in agriculture. This waste of time frequent flyer minister has proven to be an invalid minister in agriculture. All this man does is travel to take pictures. His empty ceremonies are not benefiting us as farmers in our fields. Nothing serious happening in this sector. Agriculture is a joke, reads this other email. Yes, my Straight Talk family, now take your calls if you are so minded to call. And if you have just joined us, as I said, tonight we are discussing our thesis. Our thesis tonight we titled Due Process Violated, Taken Over by the Due Process. And my Straight Talk family, I made the point from the onset that a few days ago, a reporter asked our Prime Minister some simple but very important questions. And like most times in his response to the issues raised, it seems as though his brain stops working, but his mouth keeps going. A typical example of this can be gleaned in his segue from the question about the ambassador to his waffling about the process and the development bank. My Straight Up family, when one listens to Dr. Jew, one is forced to ask the question whether his brain stops working while his mouth keeps going. And he talks at length with such authority, but in a confused or inconsequential way. So it's a fair question, because remember that a few months ago, he raised the issue about money missing in the bank. $20 million, he said, went missing. And then he's changed his tune on so many occasions, my Straight Talk family. And we wonder, what is he really saying now about the bank? My Straight Talk family, he said this about the missing money.
This one really, really hurts. Is the development bank. Oh boy. Madam Speaker, what took place at the development bank is enough to make a big man cry. But what has been uncovered, Madam Speaker, is over $20-something million can't be accounted for in cash. This again is not some figment of my imagination. Madam Speaker, over $20-something million missing.
But remember, he also said about due process and the bank.
We should allow the process to take its place. Let me tell you, I have come to recognize and respect that. For example, with the development bank, people were pressuring me. However, I have to be very mindful. I have to make sure that rights are respected, due process is carried out, and that natural justice is at the foundation of all of this. So even though I understand that people would want it, I have to also be in mind that these principles that we have of good governance and so forth, they must also be respected. Because if one found him or herself in a particular situation, irrespective of everything else, you will want one fundamental thing: natural justice. And part of that is due process.
But to hear the talk, my Straight Talk family, natural justice, due process. But recall, when Dr. Drew took office and was sworn in as Minister of Finance, he did lots of things, some of which we raised tonight. And one of the first things we cannot forget that he did was to demand the keys, the vehicle, and all the property belonging to the bank from the incumbent CEO, Len Harris, who happens to be the brother of former Prime Minister Timothy Harris. Dr. Drew then started a witch hunt at the bank and later advised the Federation about the findings of a forensic report. I think he said it was a 198-page report. And to date, he has only read 2 paragraphs from a 198-page report. And he said this about the findings.
We had a forensic report. It has been uncovered that significant amount of money is missing that I've mentioned before, and I would leave that there for now. All I would say is that this is being looked at very closely. This is being looked at from many different perspectives, and not to prejudice anything, I would at this time limit how much I say about it, other than to say that a forensic examination had been carried out. There have been findings, and things are being pursued. So the law will be respected all the way through. However, I can say that this forensic report has revealed a lot of things that definitely cannot be left uninvestigated.
The law must be respected, he says. So we ask Dr. Drew if there was due process in this serious matter. Was the former CEO Len Harris interviewed by the forensic auditors? That is another question that Dr. Drew must answer. Because if Dr. Drew promotes due process and natural justice, then he ought to know that the right to a hearing, or the right to a fair hearing, I should say, is a basic principle of natural justice. The former CEO, Len Harris, must have had a legal interest in any forensic audit of the development bank. He served that bank since his appointment by Dr. Denzel Douglas and should have been allowed to present his case, also to challenge any evidence against him by Straight Talk family. So that is my first example I advance, that due process was violated and taken over by the Terence Michael Drew process. And that has been the modus operandi from the moment Dr. Drew assumed office in government. It was clear from the onset, very clear, that his method of dealing with his political opponents was to persecute them and not prosecute them. And we can flash back at the AG as well from the onset. It was a moment of disappointment when he addressed Sniper back in September of last year. And my Straight Talk family, we have learned, and justified the old saying, he who comes to justice must come with clean hands. Caller, you live.
Yes, Mr. Leiber, Carl here again. Yes, let us have a discussion on the alleged $20 million that is claimed to be missing from Development Bank. But you realize the Prime Minister ain't tell us which section or department that money is missing from in the bank. Now, you know, the bank have different sections and different departments, right? That would have a budget, and then, you know, the bank would have a total overall budget. So, did this money missing out of profit from the bank, or is missing out of interest, or is missing out of the bank itself own monies? And how much department in the bank and the areas of detachment in the bank that is 20 million claimed to come from? You never hear Dr. Joe mention any of that. You realize that?
Well, he hasn't mentioned lots of things.
Right? And then if that money is missing, right, it cannot be just the CEO allegedly to have this money missing, because he would have assistants, managers, supervisors, go down the heads of different departments. So the question is, have all of these heads of department, present and former, has come before the investigated committee or board to be questioned and to ask questions and to answer to what they have been alleged to be taken out of the bank? These are questions the public need to know. And if there is an investigation going on, who are the persons who are investigating? Is it the police? Is it Scotland Yard, the DEA, the CIA? Or is it an independent committee makeup of the private sector, a bunch of lawyers, judges, magistrates? These are things we need to know. Because if you have a forensic investigation going on. We need to know who are these people on the forensic committee, investigators, who are they? The names, what post they hold, and what accolades they carry for them to be chosen to carry out this forensic investigation.
Okay. Point taken, Cal.
These are things we need to know. The public should have done know that, because he's claiming over here that there is investigation going on, but yet nobody know who are the investigators, where they come from, what accolades they hold.
Got you,
right,
got you, my brother. Got you.
So doctors, you need to come again.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And just to add to what you're saying, the Attorney General also made mention sometime about a special prosecutor, and that should be something looked into by a special prosecutor. I don't know if one has been appointed. I have not heard of any appointment of a special prosecutor. But really, if you think seriously, the Jew administration is not about prosecuting anybody. All Jew is concerned about is to persecute his political opponents. So when we think about due process, therefore, we ought to think of something which concurs with the deepest notions of what is fair and right and just. As I mentioned earlier, over 800 years ago, in 1215 to be exact, 808 years ago, the King John of England, in the Charter of Liberty, known as the Magna Carta, that Charter of Liberty and political rights were given to the rebellious barons of the king, and came to be seen as the pioneering document of English constitutional practice. A straight talk family. But tonight I referred earlier to what I call the Terence Michael due process. Hereafter we called it the due process. Let's go to the lines and take this call. Caller, you're live.
Yes, Patrick, I am back. Thank you, Kyle. You really punching. No, Patches, I want to say something. I want to know if everybody who are consciously awake realize that you take the ship, you take over the captain room, the wheel room of the ship, sailing in nice good waters, and he sailed that ship until it reached it by running on the economical reef of this country. And when that ship get off of that reef, we going down by the economical Titanic. That's where he taking the ship. Joe is sinking the country. People, everybody they say think it has 98% literacy. Well, that should be questioned. I can't believe so many literate people in St. Kitts consciously aware of the nonsense what Terrence you doing to this country, what he has done. The man starving a lot of people, but take away what they rightfully deserve. Imagine me family and the wife over here now, they take away the job, they turn away, they ain't working, and other people too. He take it away. That is all you're concerned about, is to victimize people. Just this week, and he turned me two again, all because they're not backing him. This thing cannot be right. It is time for people to cut off his journey, his political journey, and get out there to in protest showing that we ain't taking this thing. He's a dictator. People, are you stop sit down, man? Get up. Stop sit down. What are you waiting for? The longer you sit down, the more he gets enjoyed to do his stupidness in the country. He don't love the country. He don't love nobody. All he wants to do is victimize people and raise the government money. That's all he doing. Are you get up?
Okay.
Damn well vexed. Are you doing nothing?
Okay.
Are you giving him endurance to go to a continued foolishness and mashing up the country? Every time he talk, it happened for the past 7 years. 7 years, nothing been done. Nothing been done what? That is a big lie. Look at the long pier where the largest ships just come to. Look at the whole Bay. Them today, outstanding. And he going to say, in the last 7 years, none do. And I going to sit down here and allow you to get away with them nonsense. Man, I up, man, look. Practice, good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, Practice. See you next week.
Have a good night, my brother. Have a good night. We come back on Thursday. And yes, you mentioned, Old Road Bay. And we sometimes take a lot of things for granted. Because when all that rain falls, the rock fall and the soil slippage across Old Road Bay cannot ever cause any damage to any vehicles traveling across Old Road Bay. And sometimes even right here in East Bassett, I remember when rain fell for 5 minutes, George Street was like a river, and so to Pond Road and Frigate Bay Road. But we did put in proper storm drains, and the water is flowing, and we tend to forget that. I hope we won't forget Old Road Bay and what it was back then. But my Straight Talk family, as we wind down tonight's programming, in more recent times, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis unveiled what he called the Independence 40 Reset. But in fact, what he did, according to most political pundits, is to formalize the Terence Michael Drew process, which is based on 3 principles. The first one is a lack of transparency. The second one, my Straight Talk family, is the lack of accountability. And of course, the lack of frank and fair consultation. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live.
Paternal love. Paternal love.
Yes, paternal love, my dear brother. How about that?
I'm thankful for the love of the Almighty. How your night is going, Brother Patrick?
Peaceful, my brother. Peaceful. And yours?
I'm thankful I did great because you're down in the 40-mile area out of Bastille, relaxing the mind.
14 miles, you gone far. You gone to the back of the land.
Yeah, my grandmother farm.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That is correct.
Yeah, Helena,
that's correct. May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace, And my father, born in this month, me and his father, Johnny with us. If you pass over, I would like to extend my birthday wishes to them in the love of the Almighty and the ancestors. But I would like to say something here to your people, them listening to your program of your Straight Talk and to the aspect of your dialogue with the public and to the international global world. We would like to ask something on the context because you've been in the post as the minister of being the ambassador for the United Nations representative. And I asked you this matter, but now we're hearing the recent development from the Prime Minister's statement on the issue that is alive in what occurred in that international stage. We'd like to ask the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, when you make a statement like that to the journalists asking you, prior to what was being leveled towards the mishap of the ambassador, and you were going to say that the ambassador is on vacation We would like to ask what permits the ambassador go to a vacation of that magnitude in a situation of that. So if you can give us some better highlights, who is the best person can be detailed when these matters occur in the Foreign Affairs Minister?
Well, that's correct. That's correct.
So how is it that the Prime Minister come making some statement there like that and making it sound like we ain't got no kind of common sense, we only in a level of understanding when these crises like these take place in an international region that is called the global stage when it comes to human rights matters and all kind of matters in the concept of the global, as they call it, climate change and them things there. Now, the matter occurred with the Foreign Affairs Minister and the Ambassador. Up to now, we don't even hear a recount of a statement coming from the Foreign Affairs Minister himself. You see? So, me want you to properly educate the people and not let them be misled by the content because it's a kind of override by his statement. Cut it in the formality. When you call us, we should nod ourselves with the laws them and the rights them around us. So these are laws and rights we have to entail in the discussion that is occurring with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Ambassador of the United Nations representing St. Nevis. So, me just put this on your table, because it's education me come here to pursue put to my people, not no political stereo. And neither Timothy could do none back in establishing what we need to go forward as a people. Not even the Prime Minister himself here, because unless we will release itself from the Mason work, the Mason we're talking about is not just in thinkers and he's not talking from a global standpoint. Because here is it now. We're saying that we want to break away from fossil fuel, but every day in this developing world where we say we call ourselves, we got these same thing coming to our shores. We have vehicles coming in on a heavy rampage. We ain't got no words for them, but they just continue coming in because the business personal and feel because the tax cut and so within in the aspect of the trading routes within these global powers, they don't see the initial to cut these kind of movements here. So I would say here, basically tonight, it's time now we take a different approach because this thing what they call about climate change and the matter that the Prime Minister of our Federation of Thinkers in the state, and me say it without any fear, Because I want no corner to say what I have to say. These things you got to take a serious return from what is taken on our people. You don't come being global, I call it, what I say, climate change, and we don't make things that we insist and danger in the climate, but we create a lot of things down here for the environment of that, because we cut into a thing called the World Trade Organization. So, my brethren,
okay,
I thank you for your info, because I give a mouthful tonight. And I mean, remember me not come here to represent no political party. I can't be doing voting thinkers and Nevis, but me a revolutionary thinker. And it's time now we got a mind to understand the concept of the victimization, the control.
I told you already, when good people like you don't vote, we get a bad government like the one we have.
No, the vote, you're not voting to conclude the government. Tell lies. Don't tell no lie to me. You're not voting to conclude the government. You know that. It's the people who controlled by the economical powers that consume the government. You know that too. Because when you Prime Minister in 2015, when Timothy Harris went in 2015, what he did? And the first instance of a dialogue in the parliament, he gave $100 million duty to concession back to the private sector. You heard our poor people understand, and you say he's an economical man. You can't be serious on you. And I could challenge Timothy anytime with that. Okay. That's why I say that. Okay, I mean, not fear to say that without any fear. But I love you, my brethren. So you have a joyous night here. I ain't simple smoking ganja anyhow and feel it without any police or army. Anybody tell me not smoke. We have to smoke and free up the mind. But we ain't smoking to control our bodies. We guiding, we use them. Because I said, no, I could say a lot of things here tonight about your program. Okay. It's very informative, so thank you. Blessed love.
Blessed love, my dear brother Ras Aya. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank this caller for holding caller your live. Hello, caller.
Yeah, man. Mr. Labor, how you doing tonight, man?
I am peaceful, my brother. And yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. You see, only people that's thinking can really, you know what I'm saying, get to those details. That's a great observation he made about the incident with the ambassador. You know what I'm saying? That's a foreign affairs issue. Yet still we can't hear from the foreign affairs minister. But you know what I mean? St. Kitts Nevis right now is in a mess, man, believe it or not. The people them need to wake up. You know, the politicians them running away with the country, doing anything what they want to do, man. And you know, St. Kitts Nevis people just need to get some more courage. You know, it's the only place that I see that's not having any protests. You know, anything goes, and the people don't do anything about it. They don't hold these politicians accountable. You know what I mean? My take is right now the place is too corrupted, man. St. Kitts Nevis is probably the most corrupted place in the Western Hemisphere based on size. And that corruption is not going anywhere. It ain't nothing being done about it. You know what I mean? The Prime Minister been talking about these forensic evidence, financial evidence about money's missing. And, you know what I mean? They're not doing nothing about it. You know, I don't know. This seems like it's just a political witch hunt to me. They're just appeasing to the people's, you know, emotions, looking to pick up political points. You know, if somebody's not held accountable, then the corruption remains. You know what I mean? Both islands, in my opinion, right now, they don't have any opposition on both islands. You know, and the young people, man, they need to get involved with their own politics. You know, we need some change. You know, I hate to see some of these old politicians being recycled and clogging up the system. You know what I mean? Taking up some of these prestigious positions when there are other persons who are qualified that could take some of these positions. You know, so we could get that money circulating. You know what I mean? Some of these guys, they're already getting a pension. They're collecting Social Security, yet still they want to just sit around and be advisors, so-called, and, you know, not doing any work and getting paid. You know what I mean? As soon as they disperse these $100, these $1,000 that they be giving out, those persons are some of the first persons' bank accounts that these $1,000 be hitting instead of the common man. But for me, I don't really too much believe in that, because that's just like political gimmicks that these politicians, they throw some little trinkets and, you know what I mean, throw some bait to keep us chilled out. But realistically speaking, you know, when those monies, instead of dispersing those monies to individuals, you know, I feel like those monies should be reinvested back into the country to improve the infrastructure, you know, healthcare, education, and the like, and also to improve the quality of life for the citizens. You know what I mean? But it's a lot to talk about, man. A lot going on in St. Kitts and Nevis. But my main thing is that corruption and no transparency with the CBI program. And there's no operational public account committee on both islands. And, you know, concerning all this corruption and these white collar crimes, you know, the AG, he was on Freedom a few weeks ago, and he did indicate, and he said that he is not the man responsible for charging any politician or persons, you know, with such, you know, criminal activities. And the country was being run with no DPP in place. And he said that the DPP is the person responsible for charging such persons. You know what I mean? And if the country is being run without the DPP, and there is no public accounts committee on both islands, these politicians, they're going to run away with the spending, man. They're going to run away with the spending. And as far as I can tell, once there's money in the purse, the money is going to get spent up. And if these politicians be reckless with the spending, St. Kitts Nevis is heading back to the IMF. And I want to see some changes happening, man. I want to see a lot of things done instead of so much talk, man. It's a lot of lip service and no action. But you know, but this it's all corruption, man. A bunch of corruption, and the corruption is not getting taken care of. And without if that corruption don't subside, then what I say, the corruption affects the GDP. So we're gonna be in a state going forward, man. And the class system there is gonna kill out the poor people. the class system. The selling of the St. Kitts Nevis passport is giving foreigners access to the country more than a natural born person. You know what I mean? And you know, we see what's going on between Israel and Palestine. A similar situation can end up happening in St. Kitts when these foreigners just come in and take over the place. But, you know, I wish you guys the best still going forward, man. And, you know, enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Thank you, my brother. You do the same.
All right, thanks a lot.
Always good to hear your interventions, and perhaps a nice way to end it tonight, my Straight Talk family. And bringing to the fore the lack of transparency. That's one of the principles that this Terence Michael Drew process is based upon, the lack of transparency. You mentioned the CBI, and like I mentioned earlier, I have for some time, in terms of our opinions, been at variance with former Minister Astafan. But I concur with him when I heard him say this about the same passports you just mentioned, my brother.
You know another thing that has to stop? The ongoing failure to inform the people about the number of economic citizenship passports that have been issued over the years. This should be public knowledge. Freedom of information, remember that?
Yes, we all remember it. And the second principle on which this Terence Michael Drew process is based is the lack of frank and fair consultation amongst the people. And the third, and more egregious principle on which this Terence Michael Drew process is based is the lack of accountability. And what seems to be happening here in St. Kitts, in Nevis, is the right, everyone, and in particular those in the Drew cabinet, in particular Dr. Drew himself, seems to have acquired the right to do wrong. His decisions are made in the cover of darkness, my Straight Dog family. When he has operationalized an arm of the Public Works Department in his office of the Prime Minister and has appointed a project manager, and so far has dished out without any semblance of tenders or the tendering process, 2 main contracts, an $8 million contract to construct the Robert L. Bradshaw Museum, which should have been completed since September. He said, September has passed. And he took an idea, he said, an idea from one Ashley Allers. It was just an idea. A water idea, he called it, to be exact. From one Ashley Allers. That's what he said.
Water tank. That idea was brought to me, Mr. Ashley Allers. Said, look, the people on the water, why you don't think about giving them water tanks? Water which is a need. Why you can't give even those who are most affected a receptacle for water?
And he's turned this idea into a contract worth $5.8 million of the people's money.
We have sent the fire truck, we have sent the water truck. We continue to send the fire truck, we continue to send the water truck. We have signed a contract to purchase water storage tanks. So at least when the water truck goes, they have a larger receptacle to store the water. I would also like to thank Mr. Ashley Allers, because he's the one who brought the idea of how we can help with the storage receptacles that we're going to launch.
And no quotation was solicited from the suppliers of tanks here in St. Kitts, TDC and OD Brisbane. No quotations solicited as required by the law. There was no notice of solicitation or pre-qualification in at least 2 newspapers as per Section 13 of the Procurement and Contract Administration Act, my straight dog family. It was the same AG, Attorney General Garth Lucen Wilkin, and the country awaits his word. He has an opportunity to redeem himself. Is this a rape of the treasury you referred to earlier when you assumed office, Garth Lucen Wilkin? You said this.
Small acts of corruption tolerated by leaders evolve into systematic corruption, easily and sometimes overnight. Only a leader with integrity can put an end to corrupt practices within the institution he or she leads. Because a leader with integrity will not take bribes, he or she will also seek to eradicate bribery within the structure of the institution by setting clear anti-corruption policies and by policing them. In my context, being a minister of government, albeit for a couple of weeks, the way we plan to begin to tackle the currently existing widespread corruption in our federation is by fully operationalizing the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the Anti-Corruption Act, which will work as the 3 pillars of protection from the treasury rapists that currently exist throughout our ministry.
In the case of the 1,000 tanks costing $5,800 per tank, at an overall amount of $5.8 million, yielding a profit of almost $3 million. No one can conclude that water tanks at a cost of $5,800, no one can conclude that the government, beg your pardon, that the government got value for money. There was no tendering process. We asked the Attorney General who committed the crime, Ashley Allers or Terence Michael Jew.
Our Procurement Act requires that there be a competitive bidding process to ensure the government gets value for money, and it makes it a crime to spend money from the treasury without the procurement process being completed.
A crime. But the erosion of due process means the erosion of justice, integrity, and decency in public life continue to crumble daily in our beloved St. Kitts and Nevis. The political modus operandi of the Dr. Jew administration, now dominating our political culture, has become a refusal to accept responsibility for mistakes, for deceit, and sometimes outright lies to justify the unjustifiable. We now live in a culture that puts retaining power, it seems, above integrity. My straight dog family, our current Prime Minister is performing what he considered, or what can be considered, his first real job. He stepped into government headquarters without having any experience of government. My straight dog family, he promised not to walk in the shadow of Denzel Douglas. But if he was clever, he would at least try to glean something from a man with over 30 years in politics and 20 of those years in government as Prime Minister. He can learn nothing from that snake called Mark Anthony Brantley, except his arrogant ways, my straight dog family. And Douglas told us about Mark Brantley.
Only you have sense. Nobody else in this parliament has sense. It bothers me because there is no need for that kind of arrogance. He's the most intelligent person in the world. He's the most sensible person in the world. He's the richest parliamentarian in the world. It's a glimpse of the nature of the member for Nevis. Arrogant, pompous, talking down to people. And that's not a good attitude for a politician. You need to change your attitude. You need to stop talking ill of people.
Jew can learn nothing from Mark Brantley. In the meanwhile, the opposition or the office of the Prime Minister, in that office we find an arrogant leader who is confused with the power that has been thrusted upon him just like that. And this has resulted in our due process being violated and taken over by the Terence Michael Drew process. The Drew process. That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I am not going to change it. But I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, as always. I want to thank you, the many listeners, those who sent emails, those who called. Remember, all of you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I'm Ian Patch-Libert, and God's Spear, we will connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until that time, until we connect, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember that when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light and thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye until we connect on Thursday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now, I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow, down on my knees,